The City of Waterloo, in cooperation with its many active and inspiring entities, presents Heart for the City, a chance to hear and see what's going on in our city and to meet people who serve you, teach you, entertain you, help you, all neighbors and like you. Make this a city on the move. And now, here's our host, the Honorable Quentin Hart.
So welcome, and thank you so much for joining us for the Heart of the City show. I am Mayor Quentin Hart, your proud mayor for the City of Waterloo. And on this show, we plan to do a myriad of exciting things, videos, to tell you a little bit about what's taking place in the city that we love. There'll be many interesting facts. You'll hear from departments. You'll hear from programming throughout the entire City of Waterloo. But I wanted to start off this first segment just focusing a little bit about what's happening. I've had the fortunate opportunity to be in office for about 126 days at this point. And when you take a look back at where we started at in January and February of 2014, we were actually looking at about $5.5 million in building valuation. 2015, we saw about $6.5 million roughly in building valuation, but I'm happy to report to the citizens of Waterloo that in 2016, we have already eclipsed more than $24 million worth of valuation. And what's really important about this conversation is that we're able to see development happening around the entire city of Waterloo. We take a look at Ridgeway Avenue and we can see coffee shops, we can see restaurants, we can see a new golf center. When we take a look at the Logan Plaza corridor, we're able to finally see Logan Plaza, that building, coming down. Now, I will say with regards to Logan Plaza and the Logan Plaza corridor, you know, we have improvements to Allen Hospital, $30-40 million of renovation over the last several years. When we take a look at Carver School going from Logan to Carver, renovations. When we take a look at the work being done at Allen College and the skilled care facility, the freestanding restaurant in that area, a brand new Donald Street, brand new Highway 63, Dr. Sunderham's office. So we've seen change, but everywhere that I've gone from neighborhood to neighborhood, all of our citizens have been asking what's happening with that shell at Logan Plaza. And so we found a developer who's going to come in and work with the couple, work with the health organization to come in and build 2 facilities there, a restaurant, also a gas station. But as you can see, that area is on the move as well. When we take a look at ConAgra, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar expansion and other opportunities from jobs. San Martin corridor is continually moving. So from a development standpoint, we're seeing development happening everywhere throughout the city of Waterloo, which is, I am proud to report to all of you. Also, we've taken and restructured some of our council standing committees so that we can make sure that voices are heard by council. We just went through a budget process, which I think probably worked about 10 to 11 hours a day focused on the budget. But I'm proud to report that we were able to cut our levy rate, which could be considered one of the highest, but to be able to cut that by 15 cents. And what's significant about that levy rate, every cent that we cut, that's $22,000 worth of savings on our general fund. So we were able to propose a budget rate at this particular time, which I thought was respectful for the hardworking citizens. But there's still plenty of more work left to do. Also, some other areas, economic development, I spoke about that, but we were fortunate within the last couple weeks to finally have an economic development specialist position approved by our Waterloo City Council. And this position focuses primarily on business recruitment. You know, think about it. We want to create an environment where businesses believe that they can thrive, where you have all the resources. So we created this person within our planning department, or this position, that's going to be able to go out and talk to some of our smaller businesses to find out what's going on. How can we be more business friendly to your needs? What about the resources that come across the desk of the mayor's office and the city? So we'll be able to connect businesses with resources as well to help them be even more successful. And this is important because our small businesses make up a huge part of who we are as a community. You're talking about hiring and providing jobs for people in the area. So that's absolutely our focus also. Another area too that's kind of off the beaten path for the city of Waterloo and cities as such, given some of the constraints that we had in the past, and that was being able to forge a relationship with our very own Cedar Falls Mayor Jim Brown. Through that partnership, that's allowed us to be able to take a look at our city and just let people know that you may live in Cedar Falls, but you may work in Waterloo, or you work in Waterloo, or you live in Cedar Falls. But regardless, we are one community. And when you take a look around the state from the I-380 corridor and those corridors that are doing fantastic jobs, they're thinking a little bit more regional. And that's how they're advocating and attracting businesses by their entire communities as a whole and not just separate entities. Now, of course, we want to make sure that Waterloo continues to thrive, but when we market this community as the Cedar Valley, it is absolutely imperative that we make sure that we market all that we have to offer in this area, because that is going to be the push that continues to make the Cedar Valley one of the best corridors in the entire state. And hey, why not? Why limit our expectations, but in the entire Midwest for opportunities for business growth and development. So as you can see, my first 100 or so days have been absolutely busy with a lot of long nights. And it's been absolutely fantastic because one of the things that I'm finding is that there are so many great things taking place in the city of Waterloo that we're not hearing about, that people aren't talking about as much as we possibly could be doing. And so that is exactly the reason why a mayor's show, or Heart of the City, is so important. And so that you can find out what's happening in your city, and you can also find out how you can be more engaged in this entire process. So thank you so much for joining in with us on this part of the show. But right now, I want to bring up one of the best attractions that we have for the city of Waterloo. It's that, you know how you have those jewels in the city and you hear about them, you know about them, but you may not fully be aware of what's going on. But right now we have one of our finest attractions, the Grout Museum District, which is currently honoring Iowa's veteran-era veterans. So please take a moment with me and let's watch.
That the story of Vietnam be told from the aspect of the people that were there.
My name is Aaron Buzza. I'm on a mission to share why people dig Waterloo, Iowa. Today on Travel Waterloo, inside a new exhibit that honors Iowans who served in the Vietnam War. "115,000 men and women from Iowa served in the Vietnam War," and a new exhibit at the Sullivan Brothers Iowa Veterans Museum titled 365 and Counting shows the realities and stories of our hometown heroes.
Some of us volunteered, some of us were drafted. It didn't make any difference. If we got orders to go to Vietnam, you went to Vietnam. That was just the way you did. And you didn't have to like it. You were just there.
The exhibit showcases a very personal side of the war. Stories, artifacts, and photographs donated by local veterans who served honorably and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice bring visitors through major events of the war.
I cannot hear the taps from a bugle without thinking about seeing the tears running down their cheeks, at the funeral. So it was pretty tough, that was my first experience in Vietnam, when I was only 15 years old. So.
For some, the war is still very hard to talk about, so the exhibit speaks for them and honors their service, an honor many never received when they returned home.
What this is a kiosk of the 866 fallen soldiers from Iowa.
Interactive exhibits like the Faces to Go with Names kiosk allow families and friends of the fallen to honor their loved ones. A searchable database connects photographs with Iowa's fallen soldiers.
You can go by name, you can go by city, you can go by county. It'll pull up the soldier. and each one is in a frame. It has their name, their branch of service, their birth date, and their death.
The exhibit is open through July 2016. For more information about the places we saw today, check out the Travel Waterloo blog at travelwaterloo.com and visit our YouTube channel for a look at past episodes and travel ideas.
Introduce Chris Schackelford, researcher and staff member of the Grout Museum. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being with
You
us. A lot going on at the Grout right now. You want to tell us a little bit about what's happening, the 365 and counting, and the different programming? You want to?
Sure. As we just saw on our video here, the 365 and Counting Iowans in the Vietnam War exhibit will be closing here in a few months. It's been up for about 9 or 10 months, and we ran it for a 365 duration. Hence the title and the runtime.
Right.
The veterans of Vietnam served a tour for 365 days in country. Unlike their fathers in World War II, who went into combat and fought for as long as the battle entailed, or they were taken from the battlefield and relieved of duty, these gentlemen were given a year tour in Southeast Asia.
Wow.
Giving them an opportunity to have some hope of coming back home.
Right.
So in homage to that, we put up the exhibit for a year and titled it as such. This exhibit was incredible to plan. It took us a few years to plan, and the community response to it has been incredible. Not just the veterans community, but the Waterloo community in general has really enjoyed this exhibit. The participation throughout the runtime has been moving. As a researcher, as someone who developed the content, wrote the text, interviewed veterans, and got their input to put this exhibit together.
Right, and that was a question I was going to ask, because you're a researcher. So you sat down with veterans, you did homework, you Google search, you did a lot of different things. But how does a concept, how do you get to that point? What are some things that happen behind the scenes? Because there's more work that takes place behind the scenes than there probably does after you get it done.
Sure, it's a long process, and I specialized in Vietnam era history throughout my master's program in the University of Northern Iowa here in Cedar Falls, and been working for the Grout Museum for about 2 years. First as a volunteer intern to work on this exhibit particularly, and eventually through grant funding and donors, we were able to bring me on as a staff member to have the exhibit come to fruition. The process of developing an exhibit like this, like you said, you need the input from the veterans. You have to have their perspective. The Iowa Veterans Museum is not a war museum. We're a veterans museum. We're in the business of telling people stories.
Oh, wow.
And so it's important to relate that personal side of a conflict in order to understand it in all its complexities. The Vietnam War is a very, very complex war. And as I went about to tell the story, how do you condense this in an exhibit form? People write multi-volume publications about this very, very complex subject. And so it was condensing, editing, rewriting, and starting with the text. Furthermore, you need to acquire artifacts to present. And this is really a community-based artifact collection. A lot of the stuff that you see within this exhibit isn't a property of the Grout Museum. They are loaned to us for the duration of the exhibit. These are very personal items carried by Vietnam veterans while they were in service as young men.
Wow.
And so to tell that story through artifacts was important. And furthermore, we collected a lot of imagery. Cameras were accessible in the 1960s.
They were,
and a lot of these guys and a lot of these guys and gals, they collected these images and they hold them in scrapbooks, and seeing them come in and opening a lot of these for the first time in several years. And we have to remember, this was an unpopular war at the time.
Yes,
and
it was.
Has taken several years for a lot of these veterans to really open up, share their stories with their family members as well as the community.
Right.
And so sitting down and hearing their stories on camera through our oral history project, as well as having them participate in the planning of an exhibit like this, as a relation, I've heard several times, it was a healing process to see this come to fruition.
And you know what's amazing, going to the museum, of course you have some audible things where you can push buttons, some interactive things that take place, but it's really interesting to hear your background of how you got from point A to point B, because it gives the pictures and the visual things that much more life behind it. It makes that story that much deeper. So, definitely applaud you as being a researcher. And last night, I was actually at a program at the Grout as well. Very, very special program for people, very telling stories. But can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
So we have created an annual event, and this is a partnership with the University of Northern Iowa and other community members throughout the Waterloo region to do a Holocaust remembrance ceremony once a year, and this typically takes place in April. And we were honored to have you last night, along with other very compelling speakers,
Right.
Many Holocaust survivors or children of Holocaust survivors, yes, relating their story. And again, we are in the business of telling people's stories, and so it's very important to have community relations and host those type of events.
Right.
It's very moving and touching. In last year's event, we had a Holocaust survivor it was the first Holocaust survivor I'd ever met in person.
Wow.
And so it really resonates with you and changes you as a person to meet those type of people. Part of this partnership is our current hosting of an exhibit, The Life of Anne Frank. Now, this is an exhibit that's a traveling exhibit borrowed from the Anne Frank Center in New York City.
Right.
And it is a sponsored event by the Anne Frank House in the Netherlands. Furthermore, we are doing a temporary exhibit on Iowa's connection to the Holocaust. These tell the stories of particular people who have made Iowa their home, whether they were refugees from the war in Europe, or we're telling the stories of liberators,
Right.
Iowa veterans who were there at the camps and were there to save people and saw firsthand what the atrocities that humans can do to one another.
Right.
And accompanying that exhibit, we hold events like last night's and several others that give opportunities for the community to reflect and never forget those type of things that have
Right.
occurred in our world.
Because if you forget the past, you could possibly be bound to repeat it. So very special program last night. And the Grout Museum District, of course the Sullivan Museum, but there's other parts to the Grout Museum District, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right. The primary building is the Sullivan Brothers Iowa Veterans Museum. Accompanying that is the Grout History and Science Museum. That's how we can kind of have a Holocaust theme exhibit along with a veterans theme as well. And coming up this summer, after the 365 and counting has closed, we will be doing a 8-month, 9-month expose on the history of Hawkeye Tech. And so it is really kind of a community.
Will I be in there a little bit?
I'm not involved with that project as much, but I'm sure if you want to add some input of your experiences,
Okay.
we'd be willing to listen.
Okay.
Beyond the History and Science Museum, we have the Imaginarium, which is a science-based, hands-on facility. We have a Victorian home and an early 1900s home, 2 historic homes on the district as well. So we have a broad district beyond just the Veterans Museum.
All right. Thank you so much.
You
And
bet.
if anyone has any questions about what's taking place with the Grout Museum District, you have a website or a telephone?
Yep, it's groutmuseum.org. Groutmuseumdistrict.org, excuse me. And that's a new website we've put up in the last few years, and there's a lot of information there, and we encourage you to come visit.
All right. So very, very great place. A lot of exciting things taking place in our Grout Museum District, and it's just one of many, many great venues across the city of Waterloo.
How come he gets to build a rocket?
It's his 4-H project.
I want to be in 4-H. They're making giant food?
4-H project.
I want to be in 4-H. A robot?
4-H.
I want to be in 4-H.
Join 4-H today. Your adventure starts here.
I love 4-H.
Launch your kids into a world of wonder, discovery, and learning at the Phelps Youth Pavilion at the Waterloo Center for the Arts. Your child will become a Hollywood star on the fun stage, design and build their own dream house, ride a tractor into a Grant Wood painting, and so much more. Make reservations for your child's next birthday. School field trip and group tours are available Tuesday through Friday. Get to the Phelps Youth Pavilion, where art launches a world of wonder, discovery, and learning.
I love coming here. There's so much we can do. So many opportunities for the whole family. I can try new things, and I don't have to worry about additional fees. I've got time for me when there's so much for them. Cedar Valley Sportsplex, where active lifestyles take shape.
I am a future Panther.
I am excited for college.
I am building my skills.
I'm trying new things.
I am shaping the future.
I am ready for the real world.
I am a success.
I am UNI. I am UNI. You can be too. Visit IamUNI.net.
Well, another topic that we've recently had, just a great show of volunteerism, a great show of humanity, came when the UNI football players volunteered to partner with the City of Waterloo to build playground equipment in our Highland neighborhood area. And what's so fantastic about this is, in addition, they also have done some fundraising themselves to try to come up with additional monies to help aid in this project. So just another great operation of collaboration, some hard work, and rolling those sleeves up to get some sweat equity in. And this is in a partnership also with our community development block grant monies for the City of Waterloo. So we're very appreciative of Coach Farley and the UNI football players for partnering together on this project. But now I would like to bring to the front and center Mr. John Robertson, who is the Development Director for the Waterloo Community Playhouse and the Blackhawk Children's Theater. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
I'm very good.
A lot of special things taking place in your neck of the woods, huh?
Yes, we're very excited. In July we begin our 100th season.
100 seasons, wow.
We did our research, and we are by far the oldest in the state of Iowa.
Oh, that is
And
good.
as far as our research, the fifth in the country.
Right, right.
And community theater, again, volunteer actors, a lot of volunteers behind the scene and with the helping with the set. But we're very blessed in this community with a lot of talented people. You know, anyone that can sing and act, dance on stage, you know, that's more than I can do.
But I can't sing. I can't act. Is there a role for me?
There is a role, yes. A lot of opportunities down there for everyone in the community to get involved.
And you know what's interesting, my wife and daughter just attended a program last Friday night, and it was Little Mermaids. So
yes,
you know,
very popular Disney show, and we brought it to life on the stage of the Hope Martin Theater, which, you know, as part of the Waterloo Center for the Arts. You know, we actually rent the theater from the city,
right?
And that's where our box office is as well. And yeah, it's been very popular, and actually it's showing, you know, by the time this airs it will be over, but it was a sellout, and we even had to add an extra show.
Well, you know, the interesting part, what I'm thinking about, because I said my wife and my daughter, but you have different things for every type of audience, right?
Correct, yes. We have, typically in theater, you have histories, you have tragedies, you have comedies, you have musicals, operettas. A few years ago we had Les Miserables, which was very well received. Yeah, entertainment for everyone. We have coming up, our last show of the 99th season is Picasso at the Lapina Gil, which is stars a couple of historical characters, Pablo Picasso and meet at the and Albert Einstein meet at this bar in France and talk about life and philosophy. And it's written by the comedian Steve Martin. So it'll be very, very entertaining.
Okay. And one other thing people don't know really is there's actually a costume shop as well.
Yes.
I remember one time we had a program to do at Hawkeye, and we were needing some costumes and different things, so we were able to come over and rent some things from you as well.
Yes, that's become very popular. It's actually kind of a secret yet. We try to get the word out there. Yeah, anyone's welcome to come down. That's actually in the Walker Building where our business office is. Yeah, Sandy Bryden runs that, and she's more than welcome if anybody wants to come and view that. costumes for rent for, yeah, if you can think of it, we probably have it.
Pretty much. It was absolutely huge place where you can find a lot of different things. But one of the questions I wanted to ask as well, we're leaving the 99th year and we're moving into the 100th year.
Yes.
Any specific plans or celebrations or?
Yes, beginning in July 8th, we open with Singing in the Rain, which will be a musical. It will be a production. Yes.
That's the only part I
You can try out for that. You're welcome to that. And that's, yeah, we're having a fireworks display over the river. We're having a reception after the show, so it's going to be a very joyous time. And then that's followed by To Kill a Mockingbird, the classic, that deals with racial injustice. We've organized some community involvement events to coincide with that, so we're very excited about that. And then this Christmas we have another musical, which is A Christmas Story with the musical flair.
Well, I am absolutely looking forward to being there. One of the best jewels that we have in the Cedar Valley. Probably not as many people know as they should, but a lot of people do know, or else you wouldn't have been here for 100 years. So, John, excellent job.
Thank you.
The community supports you, and we'll continue to let people know about the jewel that we have within our Playhouse. So thank you.
We appreciate the support.
All right, thank you. All right, so now, after that update we just had, we are, and after John, we'll be right back after this.
How come he gets to build a rocket?
It's his 4-H project.
I want to be in 4-H. They're making giant food?
4-H project.
I want to be in 4-H. A robot?
4-H.
I want to be in 4-H.
Join 4-H today. Your adventure starts here.
Launch your kids into a world of wonder, discovery, and learning at the Phelps Youth Pavilion at the Waterloo Center for the Arts. Your child will become a Hollywood star on the fun stage, design and build their own dream house, ride a tractor into a Grant Wood painting, and so much more. Make reservations for your child's next birthday. School field trip and group tours are available Tuesday through Friday. Get to the Phelps Youth Pavilion, where art launches a world of wonder, discovery, and learning.
I love coming here. There's so much we can do. So many opportunities for the whole family. I can try new things, and I don't have to worry about additional fees. I've got time for me when there's so much for them. Cedar Valley Sportsplex, where active lifestyles take shape.
Okay, just want to say real quickly some things that are taking place in the community that you need to be aware of. On May 13th, we have Joe Smith and the Spicy Pickles at our Riverloop Rhythms at our Riverloop Amphitheater downtown, right next to our Center for the Arts. We also have our first in a long time Mayoral Bridge Awards, which is happening on June 4th. And we've had questions about what is the Mayor's Bridge Awards. But when we take a look at the context of this community and the historical significance that the bridge has meant to the city of Waterloo, a bridge award is absolutely appropriate because it is focusing and highlighting on community members, businesses, and organizations that have worked tirelessly to bridge this entire community to make sure that we are one Waterloo. And that will be held on June 4th. So if you have any questions, please contact the mayor's office at 291-4301 or contact also area code 319-214-0051 so you can find out about this great experience. It'll be a touch of elegance, class, and all about the city of Waterloo and the Cedar Valley. So be great to see you out on that night. Oh yeah, and also get your best attire together and be ready for an evening of fun with your mayor. Lastly, I want to talk about this last week. I had an opportunity to go to Cunningham School and talk about our State of the City. I had a State of the City address. And just really quickly, some highlights that focused in that State of the City was, one, that we can never forget who we are as a community. There are far greater positive things that are happening within the city of Waterloo than there are things that may not be so positive. And that's not stating that we need to not handle some of the realities that we face on a daily basis or wear rose-colored glasses to our challenges, but Waterloo is a great place and a city that's on the move. Another portion of the program focused on speaking directly to the youth of Cunningham School. So shout out to all of the youth that were able to attend, because our future is highly important. So whether you're a student at Cunningham School or you're a student at Kingsley or Waterloo East or West or Columbus, you are important and you are our future. So the way that we speak around our young people about the city that we live in, that we grew up in, is highly important, because after all, we want them to come back and say, please stay in Waterloo, grow up in Waterloo. So we thank you so much, but make sure that you know that the city of Waterloo is on the move. And I'd like to thank our guests today, John, and I also like to thank Chris Schackelford from our Grout Museum and John from our Waterloo Community Playhouse. I would also like to give a shout out to Executive Director William Kay as well, and those that have joined us in the studio to make this a reality. This is the first show of many, and we're going to bring the good news to you. So thank you so much and have a good day. Great day to be in Waterloo.